Your attention is the most valuable currency you have. And right now, there is a war being waged for it. Every app on your phone, every website you visit, every billboard you pass is engineered by teams of brilliant people whose sole job is to capture and hold a piece of your mind. We live in an economy of attention, and we are losing. We are more distracted, more fragmented, and more mentally cluttered than any other generation in human history. We feel it as a constant, low-grade anxiety, a sense of being busy but unproductive, of being connected but not present. Consider for a moment how you spend your days. How many times do you check your phone? How often do you find yourself scrolling through social media without any clear purpose? How frequently do you start a task only to be pulled away by a notification, an email, or a wandering thought? Studies suggest the average person checks their phone over 150 times per day. We are interrupted every few minutes. Our minds have become like pinball machines, bouncing from stimulus to stimulus without ever settling into deep focus. We try to fight back with modern solutions. We download productivity apps, practice mindfulness meditation, and go on digital detoxes, and these can help. But what if the most powerful weapon in this war for our attention wasn't invented in Silicon Valley, but in ancient Athens? What if the key to reclaiming our focus and our peace of mind was a 2,300-year-old concept that is more relevant today than ever before? The ancient Stoics had a word for this weapon. They called it prosoche. Prosoche is the Greek word for attention, but to the Stoics, it meant something far more profound than just paying attention. It was a state of constant, vigilant, and mindful alertness. It was the practice of being a guard at the gate of your own mind, carefully examining every thought, every impression, and every impulse before allowing it to enter. It was the fundamental spiritual attitude of a Stoic, the foundation upon which their entire philosophy was built. In this video, we will rediscover the lost art of Prosoche. We will learn what it is, why it is the key to a tranquil and virtuous life, and how you can start practicing it today to win the war for your attention. So, what exactly is prosoche? The word comes from the Greek verb proseko, which means to hold toward or to apply oneself. It's the idea of directing your mind toward something with deliberate care and focus. But for the Stoics, this wasn't about focusing on a task like we might think of it today. It was about focusing on the most important thing of all, your own inner life. Epictetus, the former slave who became one of the most influential Stoic teachers, described it as a continuous, unrelenting vigilance. He wanted his students to think of themselves as a guard standing at the gate of their mind. This guard's job is to inspect every impression that comes knocking. An impression, or fantasia, is any thought, feeling, or external event that enters your awareness. It could be an insult from a coworker, a craving for junk food, a sudden feeling of anxiety, or the news of a promotion. The untrained mind simply reacts. The gate is wide open. The insult makes you angry. The craving makes you eat. The anxiety makes you worry. But the mind trained in prosoche is different. The guard stops the impression at the gate and asks, "Are you what you appear to be? Is this insult truly harmful, or is it just words? Is this craving truly for my own good, or is it a fleeting desire that will lead to regret? Is this anxiety based on a real and present danger, or is it a product of my imagination?" Epictetus put it powerfully in his discourses. If you are inattentive, you will be mastered by everything. Think about that for a moment. Without attention, without prosoche, we become slaves. We are mastered by our emotions, by our desires, by the opinions of others, by the endless stream of external events. We lose our freedom. But with prosoche, we reclaim that freedom. We become the masters of our own minds. It's crucial to understand that Stoic prosoche is not the same as modern mindfulness. While both involve awareness of the present moment, their purpose is fundamentally different. Modern mindfulness, largely derived from Buddhist traditions, often aims for non-judgmental awareness, relaxation, and stress reduction. It's about observing your thoughts without getting attached to them. Prosoche is not about relaxation. It's about moral vigilance. It is an active, judgmental process. The guard at the gate is not just watching the travelers pass by, he is actively interrogating them. The goal isn't to feel calm, though that is often a byproduct. The goal is to live virtuously. It is to ensure that your actions are aligned with reason and your highest values, moment by moment. Prosoche is the engine of the famous Stoic pause. It's the space we create between stimulus and response. In that space lies our freedom and our power to choose. Without Prosoche, we are slaves to our impressions, tossed about by the winds of external events and internal whims. With Prosoche, we become the masters of our own minds. We become the calm, steady, and rational beings the Stoics believed we were meant to be. This isn't a practice you do for 10 minutes in the morning. It is a way of life. As Epictetus warned, if you relax your attention, you can't just pick it back up whenever you please. A lapse in attention today makes your life worse tomorrow. It is a skill that requires constant, dedicated training. Prosoche is not an abstract concept. It is a practical tool. Epictetus organized the entire Stoic curriculum around the practice of attention, dividing it into 3 distinct areas of focus, known as the 3 disciplines. These disciplines provide a complete framework for applying Prosoche to every aspect of your life. The trunk of the Stoic tree is Prosoche, and from it grow these 3 essential branches. The first and most fundamental is the discipline of assent. This is the domain of our judgments. It is the practice of applying Prosoche to our impressions, to separate objective reality from our subjective interpretations. The guard at the gate is on high alert. An impression appears. My boss yelled at me. The untrained mind immediately assents to a series of judgments. He thinks I'm incompetent. I'm going to get fired. This is a disaster. But the mind trained in Prosoche pauses. It applies attention and dissects the impression. The objective fact is that your boss raised his voice. The judgment that he thinks you're incompetent, that you'll be fired, that it's a disaster, these are stories you are adding. The discipline of assent is about refusing to assent to these automatic, often negative judgments until you have examined them with reason. It is about seeing things as they are, not as you fear them to be. Marcus Aurelius practiced this discipline constantly. In his meditations, he would strip away value judgments from events to see them in their bare reality. A fancy meal? Just dead fish and animal flesh. A purple robe? Just sheep's wool dyed with shellfish blood. By removing the added judgments, he could see things clearly and respond rationally rather than emotionally. The second branch is the discipline of desire. This governs our impulses to pursue or avoid things. It is the application of Prosoche to our motivations. It requires us to constantly ask, what is truly worth wanting? What is truly worth fearing? The Stoics taught that the only things worth wanting are the virtues, wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. The only things worth fearing are their opposites, vice and foolishness. Everything else, health, wealth, reputation, even life and death, is an indifferent. The discipline of desire is about training our desires to align with this reality. It means using our attention to want only what is in our control, our own virtue, and to accept what is not in our control, everything else, with equanimity. It is the practice of wanting what you get, not getting what you want. This discipline is perhaps the most challenging for modern people. We are constantly bombarded with messages telling us what we should want: more money, more status, more pleasure. The discipline of desire asks us to question all of this, to use our attention to examine our desires and ask, is this truly good for me, or is it just something I've been conditioned to want? Finally, we have the discipline of action. This is the domain of our relationships with other people. It is the application of Prosoche to our conduct in the world. This discipline flows from the first 2. If you have disciplined your judgments and your desires, your actions will naturally become more virtuous. The discipline of action asks us to use our attention to act with kindness, with justice, and for the common good in every situation. It reminds us that we are not isolated individuals, but members of a vast human community. As Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself, what is not good for the hive is not good for the bee. This discipline is about ensuring that our actions, guided by our attentive mind, contribute to the well-being of the whole. These 3 disciplines are not separate exercises. They are a unified system, all powered by the engine of Prosoche. Attention to our judgments, attention to our desires, and attention to our actions. This is the path of the Procopton, the Stoic term for one who is making progress. It is a lifelong journey, and Prosoche is the lamp that illuminates the way. Prosoche is not a theoretical idea. It is a skill, and like any skill, it must be forged in the fire of practice. The Stoics were not armchair philosophers. They were deeply practical, and they developed a suite of exercises to cultivate the attentive mind. These are not quick fixes, but daily practices that, over time, will strengthen your capacity for Prosoche and transform the way you experience the world. First, and most simply, is the practice of the Stoic pause. This is Prosoche in its most immediate form. Whenever you feel a strong emotion rising, anger, fear, lust, greed, pause. Before you act, before you even assent to the feeling, create a small gap of time. In that gap, take a breath, remind yourself, this is just an impression and not at all what it appears to be. This simple act of pausing breaks the chain of automatic reaction. It gives your rational mind, your hegemonicon, a chance to come online and assess the situation. You can practice this dozens of times a day. Every notification on your phone, every frustrating moment in traffic, every tempting cookie is an opportunity to practice the pause. The key is to catch yourself before you react. This takes practice. At first, you will only notice after you've already reacted. That's okay. Over time, you will start to notice sooner and sooner, until eventually you can catch the impression at the gate before it has a chance to storm through. Second, incorporate Prosoche into your evening review. As we discussed in our video on the Stoic evening routine, Seneca would put his entire day on trial before going to sleep. You can adapt this practice specifically for training attention. At the end of the day, ask yourself, where did my attention go today? Did I use it wisely? When was I distracted? When was I present? What triggered my lapses in attention? By making attention a specific focus of your daily review, you create a feedback loop that will make you more mindful of it tomorrow. You can't improve what you don't measure. Third, practice what Pierre Hadot called the view from above. This is a powerful meditation that Marcus Aurelius practiced frequently. Imagine yourself rising up, looking down on your own life from a great height. See your house, your city, your country. See yourself, a tiny speck in the vastness of it all. See your problems and your worries shrink in scale. This exercise does two things. First, it puts your immediate concerns into perspective. That insult from your coworker seems less significant when viewed from orbit. Second, it cultivates a kind of detached, objective attention. You learn to see your life not from the inside, caught up in the drama, but from the outside as a dispassionate observer. This is the essence of Prosoche. Finally, perform a mundane task with complete attention. Choose one simple activity you do every day, washing the dishes, brushing your teeth, making your coffee. For the duration of that task, commit to being fully present. Pay attention to every sensation, every movement. When your mind wanders, as it inevitably will, gently bring it back. This is a workout for your attention muscle. Most of us go through these daily tasks on autopilot. By reclaiming them as opportunities for practice, you can weave the training of Prosoche into the very fabric of your day. You don't need to find extra time to meditate. You can turn your entire life into a meditation. Before we conclude, it's important to acknowledge the obstacles you will face in cultivating Prosoche. The Stoics were realistic about human nature, and they knew that maintaining attention is difficult. The first obstacle is habit. We have spent years, perhaps decades, living without attention. Our minds have been trained to wander, to react, to seek distraction. Breaking these habits takes time and patience. Don't expect to become a master of Prosoche overnight. Epictetus reminded his students that even he, after years of practice, still struggled. The goal is not perfection, it's progress. The second obstacle is the modern environment. The Stoics didn't have smartphones, social media, or 24-hour news cycles. Our environment is specifically designed to capture and fragment our attention. This means we must be even more vigilant than the ancients. We may need to create boundaries, turning off notifications, scheduling time away from screens, designing our environment to support rather than undermine our attention. The third obstacle is our own resistance. Part of us doesn't want to be attentive. Attention is hard work. It's easier to drift, to react, to let our minds wander. The Stoics called this resistance akrasia, weakness of will. Overcoming it requires not just intellectual understanding, but a deep commitment to the Stoic path. You must truly believe that the attentive life is the good life. The war for your attention is real, and the stakes could not be higher. The quality of your life is nothing more than the sum of what you have paid attention to. If you pay attention to trivialities, to distractions, to negativity, you will have a trivial, distracted, and negative life. But if you pay attention to what is good, what is true, and what is in your control, you will have a good, true, and free life. This is the promise of Prosoche. Prosoche is more than just a productivity hack. It is a moral and spiritual practice. It is the art of living deliberately. It is the choice to be the master of your own mind, rather than a slave to your impulses. It is difficult, and it requires constant training, but it is also the most rewarding work you can possibly do. By reclaiming your attention, you reclaim your life. The Stoics understood something profound, that our inner life is the only thing truly within our control. We cannot control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond, and that control begins with attention. With Prosoche, we can examine our impressions before we assent to them. We can align our desires with virtue. We can act for the common good. Without Prosoche, we are at the mercy of every passing thought and external event. Start today. Pick one exercise. Practice the pause. Review your attention this evening. Perform one task with complete focus. The journey of the Procopton begins with a single moment of attention. As Epictetus taught, it is not things that disturb us, but our judgments about things. And our judgments begin with what we pay attention to. Thank you for giving us your attention today. If you found this video valuable, please subscribe for more practical Stoic wisdom. And let us know in the comments, where will you apply Prosoche in your life today?